Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Inland Northwest Writers Guild, our monthly evening meeting. And we have a special guest with us here tonight. Don't I sound professional, guys? I'm just right on it. Anyway, Kerry Schafer is one of our area writers, and she's wonderful. You have like something like 13, 15 books out now, Kerry?
14.
No, 14.
14.
I
Mhm.
was in the middle. I caught it right there. In any way, she's just whizzing along, but she's sometime recently kind of broken into the world of providing services to other writers. And so that's what we've invited her to talk about tonight and share with us. And she will have time to do Q&A with y'all if you have questions. So, boy, I don't think there's too much. We had Kerry with us a month ago to talk about her books. So we're all kind of familiar with her. And if you are not yet and you're watching this video, then I suggest you go check out the website that she's provided. And it's simply www.author, what is it, Carrie?
Genie.
Author Genie.
AuthorGenie.net.
Yeah, yeah. Now it's not .com, it's
Yeah, when somebody is hoarding.com, they're not using it. Like if you go to authorgenie.com, there's nothing there, but they bought it and they're sitting on it. So I couldn't get it.
I couldn't get the one I wanted for a website that I'm building. It's not even open yet. But I went to it's all things book dot review.
Oh,
Yeah, ooh, it's a
cool.
special thing that they have now. So I thought, well, that will help. That'll make sense to people. So anyway, where are we here? We're a little loopy tonight, at least I am. Welcome, Carrie, and hey, just go for it.
Okay. All right. So I was taken a little aback before we started recording when Linda said, I'm here to talk about saving the world or whatever. I'm like, that I did not understand my mission coming here tonight. Like, I don't know if I'm up for that. I'm kidding. So I was thinking I'll talk a little bit and then I think mostly author Q&A. I mean, there's only so much I can tell you about what it is that I do, and Linda's already introduced me. So, Author Genie is a service. I do a lot of things because I wear a lot of hats and I have a lot of experience. So, quick things about my background. I am a licensed mental health counselor in addition to a novelist, and I do maintain my license, although I am not currently working as a counselor. I also am a certified Kaizen Muse creativity coach. And on top of that, I've written those 14 novels that we mentioned. And somewhere along the line, in the Wayback Machine, my friends and I used to say, "Man, it would be nice to have one of those author assistants." I assume you guys have heard of such creatures that they exist out there, but we'd be busy and we'd be like, "Man, I could use it. I could use a virtual assistant." And then it was like, "But I don't even know how I would tell them what it is that I need them to do. And how would I trust somebody with all of my stuff?" And so I'm also very bad at delegating. So I just kept on doing all of my own things. There came a point in my writing career where my books made enough money for me to quit my job for a couple of years, and then they suddenly didn't. And I had an option of I was going to have to go back to a day job, but having not worked for anybody for a couple of years, I was very happy not working for anybody who would tell me what to do. I'm a little bit like Linda. A little bit like Linda. I don't like to be told what to do. So, so then it occurred to me that I should maybe think of some ways to use my writing and my experience to supplement my income. And I just had the idea. It's like, I'll be the author genie. It's like a little bit magic. And my first slogan that I put out there was, I know what you need almost before you do. And as it turned out, it's worked really well for me. I put one post out on Facebook back about 3 years ago now, and I've honestly been as busy as I've wanted to be with Author Genie assisting things since then, just from people I knew and then word of mouth from there. So, just real quick, some of the things that I've discovered that I can do. As you know, I mean, as authors, writers, there's always stuff. And if you're traditionally published, or indie published, especially indie published, actually, then there's even more stuff. So we want to write, we want to focus on our writing, but there's all of the other tasks. So I got hit up by people to do things like set up author newsletters and format them and send them out. So people send me content and I set up a nice newsletter for them with their colors, their branding, their everything. So it always looks the same because that's one of the big things when you're trying to get your book selling is to establish some kind of a brand. So it's always good if your website and your newsletter matches your books, all of those things. So I started doing that. So I do the newsletter things for people. And then I started doing some website design in Squarespace. So I set up some websites. I'd done a couple for myself. So then I started designing websites for some people. And I do website updates for other people who are on WordPress or whatever. I don't know, how many of you guys do you have an author website? Anybody? Yeah. As you know, they can be frustrating and bewildering sometimes when they're in WordPress, like figuring out how to actually get in there and update your books and do the things that need to be done. So I figured out how I learned how to do most of that. So I do that for some of my clients also on their sites. And then I had dabbled in podcasting. So then I spent some time and I figured out how to get actually good at producing podcasts. So that's another thing I do for a number of my clients is behind the scenes after they record interviews with other authors or whatever they're doing for their podcasting. Then I go in and I have my software and I edit out things that they don't want to be there, smooth it out, make it sound good, do that with the audio and the video, and then actually get that set up on the platform, do the distribution so that it goes out to all of the different channels. So I've been doing that. And let me see, what else have I been doing for people? Graphics. I love playing in Canva, which is my favorite graphic design place. So I make graphics for people, promo graphics when their books are coming out, or new headers for their website, or for their Facebook, or all of those things that if you don't spend the time doing, it's hard to do because you haven't figured out the logistics of how to use the software. So let me see, what else do I do? Oh, things like proofreading or sometimes kind of basic copy editing. I'm not a copy editor, so that's not something I've been doing a whole lot of. I'm not really a detail conscious person. I can kind of make myself do that stuff, but it's not my strong point. Heck of a proofreader though. I catch a lot of those little mistakes that people miss. Let me see. What else other things do I do for people? Brainstorming. People get stuck. Where are you in your plot? How can we get you unstuck? What do your characters need to do? Where does the plot need to go from here? Brainstorming titles and those kinds of things. So I do sessions with people around that kind of stuff. And let's see, those are most of the kind of author genie things. I have done some sort of promotional stuff like work to get people on a bunch of podcasts and that sort of thing. It's not my favorite thing to do. I think that in order to be really good at that, you need to spend a lot of time and listen to all of the podcasts, and I wasn't really up for that. So I've not been doing that lately. Um, I don't know. Those are most of the things that I do for authors. And then other things that I've been doing, I used to offer a lot of classes, kind of mostly around motivation, mindset, how to get to your writing, how to be your best writer self. And I've been playing with some ideas for doing some other stuff coming up. But I would like to hear, kind of from you guys just some more. I was thinking we could have a conversation tonight about what's causing you some difficulty in your writing lives and what would be helpful for you, and if you have any questions for me that I can answer, I'm happy to do that. So does that sound okay, Linda? Or
Oh, sure. No, did you want to get into that other upcoming project or put that off for a bit?
the other upcoming project. I'm procrastinating talking about the other upcoming project because I'm not quite ready with that yet. But I do. Okay, I'll tell you about this. I have a very fun idea, and I've been meaning to get to this for a while, but I've been busy with my own writing and the author Genie stuff. So this is starts with a writer challenge, and it's building characters. So it's going to be a 5 day free, fun, creating characters challenge that is going to be called a writer walks into a plot, or not a writer, sorry, a character walks into a plot, and it's just gonna be 5 days of fun ways of creating and having fun developing your kind of character repertoire. So that's kind of my next fun thing that I have on my radar, but haven't got there yet. And I'm opening up to some coaching also, which I hadn't done for a while.
When you get ready to do that, do you plan for it to be in person or virtual?
It's going to be virtual. It's hard for me to do anything in person because I'm in Colville. And so, I don't want to drive to Spokane to
Almost
do
Canada, isn't it?
things. I like where I am. I'm on this nice, peaceful little place, and yeah. So it will be virtual.
Right. Okay, gang. Any questions? Any comments? Any thoughts of anything you've run into recently that was weird? That you kind of wondered about?
Or even just anything that that you're struggling with right now, because I know it's hard sometimes. I've been stuck. I've been blocked lately. I took myself out of the house and went down to the coffee shop this morning to try and stop having to drag words out from what felt like my toenails. So that actually was helpful.
I'm
I
not
know you guys have
how
stuff.
many of the folks, I'm not sure how many of the folks that show up at these meetings are struggling. I think when they're struggling, they hide. I
Yeah.
just kind of go, I don't want to go. And
Well, I just okay. If you guys aren't struggling, you're an extraordinary crowd of people, because I know all of my friends have have issues, but that's okay too. I'm happy to answer questions about anything.
yeah, folks that have recently done some new things. I know Jerry was interviewed recently, I think a podcast of some sort. And
It's fun.
so I'm not sure if he would want to talk about what that experience was like and, see if that's common for, you might know if that's normal for podcasts for the way that it was done. I haven't had a chance to look at it yet, so I'm not sure, but looks like he's unmuted.
Okay, yeah, the interview itself was okay. I was just not anticipating the cold interview. I was looking at having a little rehearsal time and then we go live. But we went right straight into live interview, and then which would have been fine had I been prepared for that. But I
Oh,
wasn't really prepared for that. And so I have a lot,
oh no.
that sort of thing, and like that doesn't work when you're trying to broadcast yourself, promote yourself in that way, and
Right,
they're trying to read through all the garbage and everything to get the right responses and stuff. That's the only thing I had a problem with.
right. What was the podcast, Jerry?
It was on my book, I. Albert Peabody.
Uh-huh.
It was Confessions from a Serial Killer, and he said that it was the Logan Crawford, the interviewer, said it was great, but I didn't think it was that great myself. I thought it was um, a little bit too um, much into the uh, what I'm doing right now. I have a hard time thinking off
It,
the top of my head and giving
yeah.
an answer thing.
It's hard, isn't it? It's
Yes.
not, it's funny because we spend all day with our books, and then someone asks us about them. We're like, oh, and there's this guy and he does this thing, and right?
Yes.
So, I actually have a buddy that we were working. I don't know what happened to this. We had an idea. I have so many ideas, they don't always follow through. So, a friend of mine, he's an old radio show host. He's very good. He does the intro for the podcast that I am doing with my friends right now. It's called the One Happy Thing podcast that I do with two author friends. Um, but Terry and I were talking about actually doing a class for preparation for being a podcast guest. Like, how do you get ready for that? Because it's not, if you haven't done it at all, it is a little overwhelming. And yeah, then you find yourself in the sort of situation that you were in. So one thing you can do if you know you're going to be, on some podcasts is spend some time. Do you all have an elevator pitch for your book? You know,
Yeah.
okay. I hate them personally, but it's really important. Like, if you're ever going to conferences, they really drill this into you that, if you meet an agent or an editor and actually have an opportunity to tell them about your book, you've got like probably 30 seconds about the time that it takes to ride up a couple floors on an elevator to sell your book. So it's really a good idea to spend some time to just sit down and figure that out. Like, how do I tell somebody about my book in 30 seconds or less? And then you have to practice it on people. That's the only way really is random strangers, grocery store, whoever. Don't worry about annoying them, but I want to tell you about my book. And you start talking and you watch their eyes. And when you see them start to get bored, then you know that you've lost them and you need to go
Mm,
back and rework your pitch.
all right.
So that's how you practice that. You could do, Linda, you could do a night where you do a pitch practice session and time everybody. That they only get, that there's an actual timer going, and just kind of, you can watch everybody and you can see if you're nailing it or not, because you want them to be interested. And so that's a something I figured out at a conference. Everybody asks what are you writing? So you start talking and then you watch them start to get bored. And then you're like, okay, I need to do that again. And that's how you can kind of nail that down. But that's one thing, just being really important and knowing. Sometimes you can actually lead the interview too by sending them some subjects that you would like to talk about. Here's some themes in my book that I feel, prepared to talk about. A good host will sometimes ask you for those.
Yeah.
So,
Well, he did do that. That was the main thing. He talked about the themes of the book,
uh-huh,
the unreliable narrator, and
right.
the other stuff that was in that book that was very pertinent to the plot of the story and all that stuff. So,
Right. And then lots of times we can clean it up a little bit too. Like if I'm editing somebody's podcast and we have a guest who is having a lot of ums and ahs, I will take some time to go through and just take them out. It's like
yeah,
they never were there, airbrushing the podcast. So,
that will work. I wish he had done that.
but
So
you were
anyway,
live. This was
yeah,
this was live.
yeah,
Yeah,
we're live.
live
Yes,
is live is scary.
yes, yes. But
But
yeah,
yeah,
my elevator pitch basically is that Albert is this serial killer that he has in the mental hospital, and he's not the villain in the story. He's actually the hero.
oh, that's a nice little hook right there for
Yeah,
sure. Um, I was just gonna I was gonna tell you something. Oh, the other thing I was gonna say is just know this too. It's an art. It's like when you started to write, you didn't expect to be perfect like right away. I mean, none of us are perfect, but being on those kind of podcasts, especially live, it's a skill that you develop. You got to just keep doing them, and you get better every time. That's another thing. So just be kind to yourself too, for sure.
I know, Tonda, you're somewhere in your process that's just changed. Aren't you starting to do marketing?
Is this where I say marketing? What's that? I have no clue how to market. My marketing right now has been when I go to, because I've had to see a lot of doctors lately, I go into the doctor's appointment and I hold my book up and say, "Here's my book. I just published this. Yeah, I did the cover art and my daughter did the chapter art." That's my start. And then they ask questions and I answer them. And I get a lot of people wanting to take pictures and they visit the website. So, I mean, I have sold stuff, but I'm just kind of like,
So the next step would be, can I leave a copy in the waiting room in case anybody would like to read it?
good point.
Why is that so hard, right? It's like, I think,
Very hard because I never thought I would publish a book. So,
well, good
yeah.
for you for starters. Congratulations. So, it's funny. It's hard enough to believe in ourselves enough to get the book written. And then once we get the book written, then we have a hard time believing that anybody else. Well, okay, authors fall into two camps. There are those of us who have a hard time believing anybody wants to read the book. And then there's the other ones of us who really don't have that at all and don't understand why everybody in the whole world doesn't want to read their book. And so there's kind of like a middle ground where you want to be in. Where you're not annoying people, but you are actually talking about your book, and it's like I went to a really good training once, and this was this is not the book. This is something. By the way, this is a really good writing book. This is my favorite plotting book. Superstructure: The Key to Unleashing the Power of Story by James Scott Bell. So I'm just using this as. So she's like, so when you're marketing, you go, I have something really cool and I wrote it and it's really awesome, but I'm not going to tell you what it is and I'm not going to show it to you and you can't have it because I'm going to keep, right? Instead of, I wrote this, here's what it's about. I think you might really enjoy it because, and I would like to help you have a copy by, but I struggle with that too. So what would be, I mean, if there's one thing, if you had something, it's beautiful. I love your cover. Is that fantasy? It is. It's fantasy. Yeah.
Yep, fantasy. It actually started as a short story. That's usually
Uh-huh.
my sales pitch. It started as a short story, was supposed to be a short story, and then, well, it took a life of its own and turned into a novel.
Great, which is fun. So the next question is, what's the why? Okay, so picture this. You're trying to decide which thing you're going to stream tonight on Netflix, and you've got the clicker. I don't know if you do that. Do you do that?
Sometimes.
Sometimes. Okay, say you are. It's one of the times that you are, and you want to get started watching because you have like an hour, so you need to start your show. So you gotta pick something. So you're scanning. What is it that makes you decide that that's the show that you want to watch?
I'm very visual. I'm an
You're very,
artist,
you're
so
very
I'm
visual.
very visual. So
Okay.
it's visual, which is why it was like, yeah, it had to visually
Great.
please me in
Great.
order to,
Cover first, but then
and
after you see the visual and it catches your attention, then what's your second check?
it better fit what I'm interested in.
Does it fit
So
what you're interested in, and how do you know for sure? I mean, do you read anything of the description at all before you turn it on?
that's typically kind of, I guess I read the description. Netflix has their little thing where it puts up a little,
Right, that
it
little
plays
thing,
it
but
for
but you read
plays
it,
it for a
right?
little stretch.
But you
Yeah.
read it. So, and that's the little bit that you need to have that you can share with people. That little hook from your book that when you hold the book up, because some people aren't going to care that it started with a short story and became a novel, but they are going to care that you have this character and this character who are saving the world by or that there's this really cool world or whatever. The people that love it, that's what they want to hear, right? So
Depending on where I am, it's, yeah,
yeah.
it's, oh look, it's got airships in it and that gets my interest, or
Yeah,
it's got, floating islands, or,
right,
yeah, I try to say something along that
right,
lines, but
right,
yeah, I'm
right, right.
usually really awkward.
Right. Yeah. Well, and it is. None of us like it. But here's my thing. Here's my tack I've taken with marketing recently. Um, the best marketing is the marketing you'll actually do, and the worst marketing is the marketing that you won't do. So when people give you marketing advice, if it's something that you know that you are never gonna do, then that's just forget it. Pretend they never said it. Put on your creative cap like you do when you're writing So, like, I like brainstorming this. Like, what would be fun? What would be easy? What would be fun? What would I be willing to do? Where are my people, for starters? And if I were those people, what would appeal to me? And then just kind of, let yourself be creative with it and have fun with it. That works much better than the force. Are you on any social media or?
Again, well, I've had some health issues over the last month,
Yeah,
so
yeah,
things I
no,
had planned on doing, I haven't been able to do yet. But I currently only have Facebook, and I know that's not where my
right,
audience is. My audience is on TikTok and on Instagram
yeah,
because it's young
right,
adults is what I've catered this
right,
towards.
right,
So
right,
I definitely need to hit more of that 20 something age
right,
bracket.
right.
My
So
kids
how
are all in that age bracket, but they're not that much help in telling me where to go. So, but every time I've discussed it with anybody who's in that age bracket has been interested in, and I'm pretty sure they've actually gone and bought it just after the
yeah,
conversation I've had with
well,
them.
that's
So
cool. That's encouraging. So,
yeah,
yeah, you know what? I personally hate social media. I spend very little time there, to be honest.
I
But
have a really hard time with it. So
finding a way, or hire one of the kids to be your, to make you some graphics and do some posts for you. They understand the market. It doesn't have to be you doing it. That's the other piece of it. They can be your assistant. That's what I always, when I have clients who are really struggling with something and I can't be there in person to help them, I'm like, is there a grandchild? Is there a grandchild? I guarantee you they will know how to help you with it.
yeah, it's funny because my kids are, well, my youngest, who is 25, is not really terribly socially active
Right.
as far as on that social media kind of platform stuff. So yeah, it's kind of like, okay. And all of her friends are kind of introverts that way too. So I'm like, okay, well, I gotta find somebody else.
Right. Well, the other way of doing the marketing can be, doing like there are a bunch of newsletters. You have to pay for these, but it can be worth it if you can find the right one to reach your audience. So putting your book, I assume your book is on Amazon
It's
in
on Amazon, and then I printed some local copies.
right.
I went to a local print press and had some, which I need to get more now.
Yeah,
And I have them in a local bookshop here called Jupiter's Eye downtown.
right,
So
right.
I do have a few in there. So I'm kind of excited
Um,
about that. But
you might, focus a little bit. It's easier to do marketing a little bit with the electronics and let the algorithms work for you. So sometimes, like with Amazon in KDP, you can put it like free for a couple days or put it on a 99-cent sale and then get the word out somehow. So there are paid newsletters that you can pay for them to send out to all of their subscribers, like Fussy Librarian or Bargain Booksy or and I'm happy to send you some of those if you want to look into them. Sometimes that
yeah,
can,
I actually checked out your website before the meeting and everything, and I figured I might contact you and just kind of discuss some things that way because I'm not familiar with a lot of that, and I'm really nervous to jump into advertising. I don't want to just throw money just to throw money. So
right. No, no, you
I don't
don't.
mind paying for things as long as I know what I'm doing with
Right.
it.
But you
So
do want to get eyes and visibility on your book. So that's Amazon has just changed things recently. I don't know how many of you all have books on KDP on Amazon. Um, you know how they always had that hourly update about this the sales feeds updated hourly on Amazon. They're not doing that anymore. Apparently, they didn't tell us, but they only update every couple of days, kind of whenever. So that changes a lot of the marketing. A lot of the people who are teaching marketing are not quite sure what to do with this now with Amazon because the idea used to be to do a big blitz, like have a whole bunch of those paid newsletters, try and get your book to climb up high in the rankings so the algorithm would pick it up and then more people
yeah,
would
they're
see
making it
it.
really hard for because some of the readers I have that are trying to put reviews on
Yeah,
Amazon
that
aren't able. They're not taking the reviews. They're not allowing the
right.
reviews to come
So,
on.
and that's
So
another thing you can do is if you have people who are willing You can put your book on sale for 99 cents for a day, get all of those people to spend 99 cents, and then you can buy them a coffee later or whatever if they're friends. But, whatever. If they buy the book, then they'll be able to review the book. So
Yeah,
that's,
these are people who bought the book, who
and
bought
they're
it
not
on
people who
Amazon,
actually
and the Amazon is preventing them from leaving a review.
really. Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
but I
Wow.
don't know if it's because there was some sort of update that was going on, because I'm not the only one who had problems with that. I've heard
Yeah.
a lot of people
Maybe
actually have.
that's why, maybe that's why my latest book is not getting the reviews that I think it should be getting too. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Everything's always changing, and so that's one reason why I teach, why I teach some of the things that I do, as far as mindset and just, doing it for the creative love and not letting the publishing part get to you because it happens with people who are traditionally published too. I have a lot of friends who are traditionally published and they're not always having a good time either, with their publishers and the process that's going on there. So you really got to do it because you love it.
I haven't had a chance to really check this out, but the fellow I was talking to you about earlier about the revealing the new model of advertising or promotions on some of the sites, he was saying, and again, I haven't verified it, but I've always said there's a million new books coming out. He said 4 million books a
Yeah.
year
Yeah.
coming out.
Yeah. Well, and some people are writing them with AI and just throwing them out there and
Yeah.
um which makes there be more. But that doesn't mean that it can't happen. So I'm not meaning to be the Debbie Downer.
No, but I think it is more and more of an indication of the need to really think through um, where and how you can do your marketing to be the
Right,
most beneficial. I mean, we
right.
can face that whole thing and it's huge, and we go, you know, and sometimes people will throw something at all of it, just try to, and you
That's
really
kind
need to kind
of,
of like
honestly, that's been me. That's that's kind of in my philosophy is just like throw some stuff out there. It's not really, but with my last book, I tried to be very much more. I actually followed a plan and I followed a strategy, and it all made sense. Did it work? Not necessarily any better than anything else that I've done. So I think
yeah.
that's the part that is a little crazy about all that. Um, and why it's nice to have somebody who's kind of working with you. I think that's one of the things that the people who hire me really like is I'm kind of there in the trenches with them. So they'll message me and it's like, "Oh my God, this thing just happened." And then I'll be, "Well, okay, let's talk about that. Let's plan around that. Let's see what we can do. Let's brainstorm it, how can I help?" And then we just kind of,
And
try something out.
I just read a nice long article that I'm hoping to adapt. It's obviously I can't use that; it belongs to somebody. But I'm going to investigate some of the suggestions because the idea behind it was how do you market and what do you do if you don't have a platform? You don't
Right,
have 5,000 people following you. And there was
right.
all these suggestions about, now this was done for a nonfiction sort
Mm-hmm.
of book approach, but it
Mm-hmm.
was like finding organizations or groups of people that would be particularly interested in what you've done.
Right. Right. For example, I have a friend who writes a series with a female Latina detective. He's a white male. But what he did was he hooked up with an actual female Latina detective police officer, and they went into schools together, and talked to the kids and talked about his book. And it was very creative. He sold a few that way. So sometimes it's, who can you team up with, and how can you, and that's where the creative thinking comes out. It's really, it seems like so big sometimes, and we want to just give up in the face of it. Like, It's tempting to say it's not possible. I'm just not going to do anything. Well, if you don't do anything, you're not going to succeed for sure. Um, so my whole thing with is if I'm going to do this and I'm not sure what's going to work, I'm going to do the things that are fun for me. That's so what would be fun? Which is one reason why I'm doing podcasts with my friends. And we're not even trying to sell books on the podcast. We're just bringing people into our sphere, so to speak, so that when we do talk about books, then hopefully some of those people will be, our target market like our books. So that's one thing. Yeah.
Kerry, I really loved your website. I went on before we started. I was a little disappointed that you're not actually Genie, but but I think it's wonderful what you're doing. My question is, like, if I contact you and I have like three different projects, all trying to get everything off the ground, and I have a book that's on Amazon that's just sitting there, but other things that I want to work on, what would our first session be like? How would that go? How would you know how to help me?
Usually what I do actually is I do a free 30-minute consult to just to hear a little bit more about what all you've got going on. And then we come up with a plan and a place to start. I have a saying that I came up with many, many years ago. This isn't a magic genie saying, but it really works for me. It's just like, just start somewhere and take it from there. So
Yeah.
it's like sometimes it gets overwhelming. I hear you about the multiple projects. I have way too many projects. So, what I would just offer you right now, what works for me is to write down the projects. So you say you have three that you're working on, write them
Mhm.
down, kind of figure out what your next step would be for each of them. And then figure out what is the first action that you could take that would take you like 5 minutes or less
Oh,
on each
cool.
one of them.
Mhm.
And do that, and that starts to give you some momentum. It's usually
Mhm.
the biggest thing is we get hung up in overthinking everything, and
Mhm.
it's just like, I don't know what to do. I don't know where to start. And so I'm not going to, do anything until I figure it out. Well,
Mhm.
sometimes it's better to just, what's the first thing? If I asked you that right now, what's the first thing that you think you could do out of all those three projects? What would be like, say, the path of least resistance, the easiest thing to do?
Well, I just keep writing for one
Okay,
thing, just keep
right.
working on my. I wrote a memoir. This is okay. I'll just show you. This is my memoir. If you can see it. This was I just gotten
Oh,
out of the hospital.
yeah.
I wanted to write some stories about the meanest things that had ever been done to me, and here's the rest of it. And that I remembered from all through life. And then there's a therapy called restoring, where years later, you go back and you tell it the way it should have gone,
Right.
just as a creative
Yeah.
outlet. And so I had 10 of those. And all my friends gave it 5 stars on Amazon, and then that was all that happened. So I would like to just get something going with that. I was on Amazon for a while, but you kind of run out of money for
Yeah.
promotion. But then
Yeah.
I've got the second memoir that I'm working on. It's called I Can Count My Life in Dogs. And that's about half finished. So I just need to keep going with that. And
Right.
then I have a couple of other things that I would really love to work on. So
Yeah.
probably the dogs is the one that it's in little bits, so I can just take a chunk and work on one thing at a time.
Right. Right. Well, I mean, the first thing is to always be writing something. We're
Right.
writers, right? So no matter what you're doing or where you're at, I've always been a really big proponent of always be writing something.
Mhm.
So whatever you're doing, make a little bit of time for that because that's
Okay.
what feeds your soul and makes you feel like a writer. And if you
Right.
stop doing that, then what's the point of any of the rest of it really? So um, keep doing that. And then there's some things if a book isn't selling on Amazon, sometimes it needs a different cover. Sometimes it needs a little bit of different back cover text. Sometimes those are things that you can look at and see if that's why other people aren't picking it up because
Like repackage it. Yeah.
they're not understanding what it is from
Yeah.
looking at it. And so, that's the whole point of the cover is not only is it engaging or cute or whatever, but it also lets people know immediately on looking at it, this is what
Mhm.
this book is,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
We all do that when we're browsing in the bookstore. And so that's one reason I always actually hire a cover designer
Oh,
because
really?
yeah,
Mhm.
because that's one of the things I'll pay for. Because I want somebody who does this for a living and knows what those trends are so that they can look at the cover, they can look at, what my description of what I'm doing, and then they can put a cover on that that's what people are going to look at and go, oh, yeah, I know what this is. And
Yeah.
so
Well,
sometimes,
one of my kids designed the cover, so I was kind of stuck with it.
yeah,
But I
yeah.
can always change it up now. It's been long enough. So,
Yeah, yeah, it's been long enough. It's cute. I'm not sure, like if somebody came to it randomly on Amazon that they
mhm.
would not know that that was, that they would know what it is,
Right,
right?
right. Good point. No, well,
So
thank you.
yeah, yeah, for sure. And these are things I have a few people that I follow right now and read everything they're saying about marketing. There's a few newsletters I'm on and they just have really good tips of things too. And that's something maybe I could create a list of those and send them to Linda and she could share them with you guys if that's something that, people that I think are putting out really good information right
That'd
now.
be great. That'd be a resource that I could send out in a bulletin and
Right.
say, these are some good suggested things. Suggested by the main thing about a lot of the sites is that when someone knows that it's a good thing and can speak for it, that matters a lot because there's a ton. I'm starting to get I'm so all of a sudden there must have been a mailing list that went out somewhere along the line and it got plugged into. All of a sudden I'm getting tons of things from small publishers, you know,
Oh,
small, yeah, hybrids or whatever they want to call themselves. I haven't even had time to go. I always visit their sites, check out their stuff. I
yeah.
try to see who they've already published, if I can get a hold of those people and ask them what they think, blah, 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 before I say, gosh, here's one to check out because I
You're
don't
right.
send
Right.
people to some
It's funny
scam.
how you get on the mailing lists or how you start getting the mails. Like I've been lately, it's kind of fun. I don't mind it all, but I do behind the scenes work for a group called the Killer Author Club. These ladies are really good at marketing, by the way. You would do well if you're on Instagram to follow all three of them, the Killer Author Club ladies. So one of them is Kimberly Bell. One is Kara Ruda, Kararouda, and the other is, you'll never get this, Heather Gudenkoff. But
Yeah, she's doing it.
they're all three, like here, I'll type them in.
Yeah,
They are all three like best-selling. Kara and Kimberly both just hit the USA Today with their most recent books, and I believe that Heather's been on the New York Times list. Kimberly Bell. Heather Budenkoff, the Killer Author Club. So these three ladies during COVID got together and decided that they wanted to start doing something that would be fun. And they started this thing they call the Killer Author Club. They're all thriller writers. So the Killer Author Club is live every other week on Tuesday evenings. And they always have an author guest, and they've made this really fun show. There's always an author. There are tons of giveaways. There's a special drink. They promote indie bookstore. Every guest has to tell us their favorite indie. All of that stuff. So anyway, I'm the behind the scenes person and I get, answer all the emails. Well, all the publicists are starting to email me directly now. So it's like I get all these really fun emails and free reads because everything's on NetGalley, which is awesome. But these three ladies are really, really good marketers. So, just for fun to see what authors are doing out there on social media that is working, it's fun to follow some accounts of people that are doing cool stuff. So um,
that's just on Instagram, right?
they're on Instagram. They're also on Facebook. They have a Facebook group called the
Okay,
Killer Author Club that's private. You can join it. And they also have Facebook pages.
super.
Yeah. So and we've had big we've had big names on there. We had oh God, what's her name? The Kay Scarpetta author. Gosh. How can I not think of her name? Sorry, my age is showing. That's really terrible. But anyway, so we have a lot of fun, and we get some people on there that you would think would maybe be a little bit snobby, and they're just absolutely not. They're totally delightful and relatable and lovely. So that's been really cool. But that's the other thing. If you're trying to figure out how to do social marketing, pick a couple of people that, are in your genre that you see that are doing well and kind of look at what they're doing and then ask yourself, can I do something similar to that? Obviously, you don't want to be a carbon copy, but just kind of look and see what they're up to. Um,
Every
like Annie, for example, you could do posts, you could do regular, you could do regular posts about mean things that people say. I mean, and then do the reframe. It wouldn't have to be ones from your book. It could be,
Oh,
come up.
there's always something new.
There's always something new, but then
Yeah,
I love that doing the restorying, I mean,
yeah,
that's brilliant. That's the kind of stuff I teach. It's like we don't want
good.
to let that eat us up. So, and then you'll see authors get on there and read their worst reviews ever. That's one of the marketing things I've seen that is people reading their one-star reviews and just taking it and laughing
Mhm.
about it. And
Yeah.
readers like that. And one of the things that is making sense to me from everything I've been reading in all of the age of AI, a lot of people have AI writing their marketing stuff for them. You being human and relatable then makes you stand out if people are doing that. So finding some way to be individual, to be clearly yourself. I am going to do this. I'm going to start a YouTube channel because that's something I don't like the other social medias, but I do like YouTube. And so I want to start doing some author de-stressing and being happy things on there, some meditations and some breathing practices and, some things like that. So that's something that I spent some time today. It's really hard to see yourself on camera or to listen to yourself talk. Like Jerry discovered earlier, because we're not used to hearing our voices and we think we sound terrible. So it's difficult to do these things, but you just have to do it. That's the thing. You got to put yourself out there a little
Well,
bit.
somebody recently mentioned to me, sorry, I keep jumping in with ideas, but we
Please
only
do.
have so much time. Somebody recently mentioned the idea of having a writing buddy.
Yeah,
It's somebody that you just really attach to, and the two of you,
yeah,
I would assume there's just two, you, you meet regularly and you
yeah.
work through and you talk about, and it's just somebody to help support
Right,
you.
right, right. Which is nice. And it's also a good way to get writing done. You can do it without like if you're just trying to get words done and you're having a hard time getting past the procrastination, setting a time. You can do a thing if you got landlines, you can call each other and then put the phones down. While you write, but you have to write during that time because that person is there expecting you to be writing. Or you can meet on Zoom and do the same thing. Put it in your planner. Like this is something that's worked well for me. My partner's retired and I'm not, so I'm obviously available to help with things. Because I work for myself and things aren't scheduled. But if I can say, hey, I have a meeting at 11, I have to be there. It's in my calendar. You can see it, and we're going to be on Zoom. Maybe I'm going to be writing during that hour, but it's in my calendar. It makes it much easier to say no to the people in your life who want you to do other things and to take that time to do your own stuff. So
Excellent idea. I like that.
I need to start doing it again. It's been a while.
Well, we're coming up. We got about, if we were strict and stuck to an hour budget, we've got about another 8 minutes, 9 minutes. And so want to make sure folks are able to scoot out of here. I know my hubby's waiting for me so he can make us dinner. And I promised him I wouldn't take too long. So, but any
I
last,
just I want to go back to the saving the world comment. Like I laughed at that, but here's the thing, people. We are writers. We are the storytellers. and it's important. It's sometimes easy to think that it's not, or to think that we're just don't have much of a market and maybe only 5 people are going to read my book. You know what? Those 5 people are important. And getting your work out there, whether it's educational, whether it's entertaining, whether it's uplifting, whether it's social commentary, whatever it is, it still changes things for people. It makes the world better, and it makes us better for taking the time to do the writing. And so I really am not just kind of, I am an evangelist on this. I always have been. It's important. We
Agreed.
can't we can't just tell ourselves that it doesn't really matter, or it's just fun, or we're being selfish or whatever. No, no, we are the writers, and we're needed. Our words are needed, our thoughts are needed. So whatever it takes to get your work done and get it out there, it's important. So
I I know that people feel like, can I spend this money on my, it's a product and I want to spend, and it has occurred to me recently, we can think of our work because of what you said, like based on that, we can think of our work like a charity. Okay, I'm going to put some money into this and make it the best that I can. And I'm not going to plan on necessarily making money off of it. I'm going to know that my writing matters, and it's adding to the bit of information that's out there that people, in our case, what we think need to hear. We need, if your book may encourage somebody, or it may give them a new idea, or there's just so much comes from it, like you say, and if it for me, it'll probably always be a charity. I'm just not in a position to reach a point where I ever expect to sell a lot, but I plan to write and put it out. And
right.
so, hey, because it matters, like you said.
This is good. I personally, I want to sell a gazillion copies and make a ton of money. It's like, I'm still ever hopeful, but I still want to get the books out there. And I do have to say, I mean, I have had with some of the books that I wrote that dealt with, abuse and those kinds of things. I've had people email me, and I remember one that was very clear that I will never forget. A woman emailed me and said, "I feel seen for the first time ever. I feel seen." And that really matters to me, that I wrote that book. But it doesn't even, I mean, I have one more story for you. I know Linda needs to go. um, I had breast cancer back a number of years ago, and I had to drive into Spokane, and you know how it is if you're driving from out. Well, maybe you guys don't, but for us, you're trying to time it because you don't want to sit out there forever, but you don't want to be late and traffic and all that. So I'm sitting outside the doctor's office, and I don't want to go in yet. And I have a book, and it's a romantic comedy. I mean, it light and fluffy, and I don't even usually read romantic comedies, but I read this book and something struck me funny, and I was sitting in my car killing myself. Well, killing myself, that's funny. Laughing, like just laughing till the tears. And I will always remember that book and that author. And I always remind myself, if I sometimes feel like I'm writing something fluffy right now, it's not important. It doesn't, it does, it matters.
Yeah,
So I
yeah,
leave you with that.
yeah, yeah. That's great. Yeah, we have a kind of a logo. Steve's been working with it on the front of our chapbook that we're putting out, and the logo has a little sub thing under it. It said, "For the love of writing,"
Yeah,
and it's just that. It's the love of writing,
yeah,
and yeah. And
good.
then for some of us, like me, I do more reading than I do writing. I have to tell you. So for me, it's the love of reading.
I do
So
both.
you're all giving me stuff to read, you see.
Yeah.
Well, it's been wonderful. I will be following up, and we'll have this recording once it's wrapped up. We'll have it up on YouTube as soon as I can. I'm kind of a procrastinator. I'm sorry about that, but I believe that maybe that actually works best. It gives a little time for thinking, but we're so happy to have you with us, Kerry. It was wonderful, and I do hope that Tonda and others are able to get in touch with you and make that connection. And
Yeah.
maybe there's things, ways you can suggest to help them. So
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you, Linda. It was lovely getting to chat with you all again. And I know we missed a question from Jerry. So I don't know, Jerry, if you want to email me later, I'd be happy to answer in an email.
I did not know we missed a question. I'm so sorry. Anyway, I'm going to stop the recording. I think we've got everything we need for all the folks out there in watching land. And no, the captions, that doesn't do any good. I don't want that. I know what I'm doing, don't I?